The much-anticipated sequel to Todd Phillips' Joker came out several months ago now, and I have to admit I slept on it. The box office performance was disappointing, and has suffered a significant drop in the weekends that followed, as news of this supervillain sequel turned musical spread. So I figured I'd get to it eventually. Boy, that's the last time I listened to you guys. Hey, I'm Mike. I studied film, I work in TV, and I love movies. Here are some stats. Joker Folie Deux grossed just over $200 million worldwide on a $190 million budget. Variety reports that it had a break-even point of $375 million after marketing and distribution. That means the studio is looking at losses of $150 to $200 million on this one. But in this age of streaming, it's easy to write off a poor box office showing. Unfortunately, the critics were equally as harsh. CinemaScore gave it a D, and it got positive reviews from only 31% of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, which is why I waited a full 3 months to see this complete train wreck of a movie. And I have to say, I liked it. Listen, I'm not a massive fan of superhero or comic book movies, but I thought the original Joker was a beautifully crafted film about mental illness rather than an origin story of a comic book supervillain. With the success of the first film, I thought for sure they would steer this one back into the realm of comic book canon, but they didn't. Joker 2 picks off directly where Joker left off. Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is incarcerated in a mental institution awaiting trial for the murders he committed in the first film. There he meets Lee, played by Lady Gaga. From the jump, the two are infatuated with one another. She understands him and shares in his musical delusions. After all, that's all Arthur wanted in the first film, was to be seen. As Joker, he and Lee, who makes her own transition into Harley Quinn, make beautiful music together. He's suave and funny, and together, they're a murderous Sonny and Cher. There are 13 full-on musical numbers in this that I was prepared to balk at, but I have to be honest, I thought they played well into his delusion of being an entertainer. In fact, I wanted to hear Joaquin Phoenix really belt out those songs. We know he can do it. He did all of his own singing for that Johnny Cash biopic, Walk the Line. I mean, if you're going to have a musical delusion about being a singer, you may as well imagine yourself a great singer. Joaquin Phoenix is masterful as he bounces back and forth between the Fleck and Joker personas, a duality which itself is on trial. Did Arthur Fleck commit those murders, or was it his alter ego, the Joker? And if it was the Joker, should Arthur pay the price for Joker's crimes? And the decision to cast Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn is truly an inspired one. She herself fluctuates between several different personas on and off stage. As the Joker's notoriety builds, we're waiting for something, anything to happen. Will Harley break him out? Will there be some big set piece that will kickstart this plot into action? The big event finally comes, but ultimately it's too late. This is where I have to mention that we're going to talk about spoilers. But come on, the movie's been out for 3 months. What are you waiting for? During final arguments in court, the Joker takes the mic and preps himself to address the jury and the cameras which have been allowed in the courtroom. And the judge warns him, this is not a performance. The Joker looks right down the barrel of the camera as if to say, is it not? What we expect from the Joker in this moment is some character-defining monologue followed by an explosion where the Joker can escape with Harley and their band of anarchists, and they can be free to rain terror down on the city of Gotham. But that's not what happens. That's the movie we wanted. Arthur making his final ascent to the Joker persona and killing off Arthur for good. What we actually get is a complete 180.
There is no Joker. It's just me.
He renounces the Joker persona. He says it was him, Arthur Fleck, all along, and it was all an act. He was playing a part everyone wanted him to be. He loses the love of his life. Harley ups and leaves the courtroom. He loses the support of his followers. And frankly, he loses us, the audience. He even gets a second chance. Once outside the courtroom, he's whisked away by some of his anarchist supporters who are talking about burning the city down. But Arthur wants no part of it. Arthur has no cause. He has no politics. He's just a lonely guy who fell in love with a girl who only loves him for his alter ego, the thing he can no longer be. The official line from director Todd Phillips is that Arthur realizes the corruption within the system, and he realizes there is no way to win, and so he simply gives up. Does Dorothy give up when the wizard initially fails to grant her wish? Does Pee Wee Herman give up when he realizes there's no basement at the Alamo? Do Buzz and Woody give up when Buzz is strapped to a rocket in Sid's bedroom? The answer is no. Characters fulfill their story arc, even if that arc is for them to become a supervillain. But that's not the real issue. Characters can fail at their mission and still make for a satisfying movie. The real issue here is that we aren't given any indication that the system is bothering him at all. Sure, Arthur is beaten and mistreated in prison, but he's found a new lease on life in Lee. She sees the beauty in him, the Joker, lures it out of him, and Arthur embraces it. We're given no indication that he is at odds with his Joker persona, or that being the Joker is somehow harmful to him. For example, take Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or Jim Carrey's The Mask, or any of the werewolf movies out there. I'll go with Teen Wolf. Their alter egos have some initial appeal, but ultimately they realize it's harmful to themselves or to the people around them and realize it's unsustainable. That's not the case with Arthur Fleck. As Arthur, he's pitiful, but as Joker, he's a fully realized character. For some reason, unbeknownst to us, Arthur realizes he can no longer be the Joker. He can no longer be the person we want him to be. And this is why I think Joker Folie à Deux is perhaps unintentionally amazing. Todd Phillips told a story about a character realizing he could not live up to everyone's expectations, wrapped up in a film that ultimately did not live up to everyone's expectations. And in that sense, it's truly subversive. The film is about a supervillain prankster, so we shouldn't be surprised to find out the joke's on us. The film ends with Arthur Fleck being stabbed in prison and left for dead. But the Joker movement will go on. In the background, in soft focus, we see his assailant carve a smile into his face. Is this supposed to be the genesis of the Heath Ledger Joker character? I think so. But let's take a step back. The idea for Joker Folie à Deux came from Joaquin Phoenix himself before production on the first film ended. He came to Todd Phillips with an idea he couldn't get out of his head. It was the Joker singing and dancing, doing musical numbers. After the success of the original Joker, the pair discussed doing a Broadway musical or some other outlet for Phoenix's idea, but not a movie sequel. The Joker was intended to be one and done. They never intended on making the origin story of the comic book supervillain that would go on to kill Batman's parents. That's why it's called simply Joker and not The Joker. And the subtitle is An Origin Story, not The Origin Story. But I suppose the success of the first film necessitated a sequel, and Phillips and Phoenix were already working on this idea, so I'm not sure why Joaquin Phoenix or Todd Phillips or anyone else associated with the film didn't want Phoenix's Joker to become the Joker and made him just a Joker. I think it's just splitting hairs, honestly. When I began this channel, I wanted to talk about films that stuck with audiences, films that stuck with me, movies that I couldn't get out of my head, and Joker Folie à Deux stuck with me for a while. I gotta be honest, I wrote and rewrote this script several times before recording it. My views on this film may change in the days and weeks to come. But that's what good cinema is. They're supposed to stay with us and make us rethink our most deeply held beliefs. Films don't have to be perfect to strike a chord. And Joker Folie à Deux is far from perfect. But it really struck a chord. I think the Joker sequel is a misunderstood film that was written off by comic book fanboys who wanted the origin story of their anti-hero as opposed to an origin story. Thanks for watching, everyone. Film is about community, so please leave your thoughts below. I love reading the comments. As always, I'm Mike. I love film.